Well, hello, it's me, Mrs Blackwell. I'm here to tell you about the books that I've been reading in June. So I'll start by saying that I might be the only bookshop owner in New Zealand whose first choice of breakfast radio is the Matt and Jerry show on Radio Hauraki. For that reason, I expected very much to enjoy Matt Heath's new book, A Life Less Punishing, 13 Ways to Love the Life You've Got. However, I can confirm that this is a standalone, excellent book. If you've ever woken up at 3 in the morning ruminating about something that you have said or done, or spent money on something that you expected to make you happy and it didn't, or ended a social media session feeling anxious and restless, then this book has advice for you. This is for fans of Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks or the writings of Ryan Holiday. This is A Life Less Punishing, 13 Ways to Love the Life You've Got by Matt Heath. And speaking of Ryan Holiday, this is the next book in Ryan Holiday's Stoic Virtues series, Right Thing, Right Now. This one covers justice and it follows courage and discipline. When the Stoics talk about justice, they're talking about honesty, integrity, and what our grandparents might have described as character development. This one is what we usually call a Big Dipper. You can read it start to finish, or you can just jump in and read the chapters one by one. They're kind of short essays on all of the individual topics about justice. This one's out in New Zealand in July, and we will most definitely have this one at the bookshop. Cowboys Are My Weakness by Pam Houston, a very appealing title. A series of short stories written in the 1990s. These are relationship dramas. Pretty much all the stories are set in Wyoming, Montana, or the Dakotas. The stories held up really well. They still felt modern. The only thing I noticed was that there was a total absence of technology. But if Yellowstone has taught us anything, it's that cowboys really aren't checking their Instagram feeds. That's Cowboys Are My Weakness by Pam Houston. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is a suspense piece of literary fiction, suspenseful. It's the story of the daughter of a wealthy family who goes missing at a summer camp in the Adirondacks. The Adirondacks are up in New York State. The story follows the unraveling of this family over several generations and their relationships with the people of the nearby small town. This book was like suspenseful right from page one, and it kept me guessing all the way to the end. Several times I thought I'd figured it out, but I hadn't. This one also comes out in New Zealand in July. That's The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Eleanor Roosevelt's You Learn by Living. Eleanor, didn't go anywhere with Eleanor. Adam and I visited the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Homestead and Presidential Library in Hyde Park, New York last year, which is where I bought this book, but I hadn't had a chance to read it, so this was the first time I had. It reads like a feisty auntie telling you about time management and self-confidence and looking out for yourself. That's the first half. The second half delves a little bit more into child rearing, which was less interesting to me personally. And then there's quite a lot of interesting bits and pieces in here about their obsession with the Soviet Union. This book was written in 1960, but I thought it still held up. It still had really good advice. She got straight to the point, and I really enjoyed reading this quick little book. We don't have it at the shop, but you should be able to find this in a library. And last but not least, Ghost Town Living by Brent Underwood. Brent's kind of a nice finance bro from Texas who buys an abandoned silver mine in California and moves out there to reinstate it to somewhat of its former glory. I picked this as a book for our business book club, and I hoped that it would delve a little bit more into the business side of re-establishing this silver mine, but it was more based on what it's like to re-establish a really remote town. If you've never been to Death Valley, it's known as the hottest place on the planet. It's routinely over 45 degrees Celsius in the summer, and so it looks at getting building materials up to this remote and extreme location and how he dealt with all of that. This book isn't available in New Zealand as a as a book yet, but you can find it on LibroFM and it's narrated by the author. That's Ghost Town Living by Brent Underwood. This is my last video for a while from Dudley's in Bend, Oregon, and thank you to Tom and Amy for letting me film these here. I'm heading back to New Zealand tomorrow, so my July video will come to you from Greytown, from Mrs Blackwell's Village Bookshop. See you then!